Greetings, fellow Savoyards and friends. Many of you know me. My name is Deborah Geary. I have been a Savoyard now for many years, not as many as some, but I've been a Savoyard now since 2012. I also like to cook, and I have agreed to do a brief demonstration on how to make a Yule log. Since we have been in quarantine, I have been doing a little bit of research on ancient Irish traditions, and since we are in the Christmas season, I decided that I would do a demonstration on how to make a chocolate Yule log. Yule logs are very ancient, and obviously they used to be massive logs of wood that would be burned to appease the gods and goddesses of ancient times, to help bring back the light and to appease the gods and goddesses so that spring would arrive again. Now, I'm not using a traditional Irish recipe for this. I am using a recipe that I found in All Recipes. I did a lot of research, and I was not particularly happy with some of the recipes that I was finding. What I'm using, however, to make this be distinctly Irish is I'm adding just a little bit of Tullamore Dew to the recipe to my buttercream, and that is how I'm turning this particular recipe distinctly Irish. The first thing, the most important thing that you can do for yourself is become organized. So you want to take a look at your recipe, you want to make sure that you read it and understand the steps before you begin, so that you're not in the middle of something and discover that you've forgotten a step. So what you want to do is you want to preheat your oven, which I've been doing, to 400 degrees, and you're going to get a 13 by 8 inch jelly roll pan, which I picked up, and we are going to take some melted butter and a parchment sheet. And this is really important because we want to make sure that your cake doesn't stick to the pan. All right, so now you can see I've got my my little brush here, and we're gonna take some melted butter and we're gonna butter this, because this will help keep the parchment from sliding around. So now we're going to take our parchment and we're going to put our parchment here. Easy peasy, right? No problems. You're going to put lots of butter here, because this is going to keep your batter from sticking in the oven, and this batter is notorious for sticking. Okay. And you want to just make sure this parchment is extremely well buttered, because we just want it to slip out. And so now that our pan is prepared, we are going to set this aside, and we are ready to move on. So now we're ready to move on to the next step, which is making the buttercream. All it is some butter at room temperature, which you're going to put in our stand mixer, and some powdered sugar, which you're going to add here. And we've got some cocoa and some salt. And we're going to put this all in our stand mixer. I almost forgot the best part. This is the coffee, the Irish coffee liqueur that I made. And we're going to add that in as well. Mix all this in the stand mixer of my KitchenAid. And let's take a look and see what that looks like on the inside here. Okay. So now I had some prep that I needed to do in advance of this next step. So now we've got 1/3 cup of some mascarpone, and this is our prepared buttercream. So we're gonna take this mascarpone and we are gonna put this in here, and you wanna have this well combined. This is gonna make this buttercream icing a lot less stiff. Just wanna, big broad strokes, because you don't want to overwork this frosting. This is going to get spread into your into the roll, and that's what it should look like. I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to move on to the next step. which is baking the sponge cake. Now, it's amazing what you can do with eggs and sugar. So we got some eggs at room temperature. We're gonna put them in here. Our sugar. This is 2/3 of a cup of just regular granulated sugar, and we're gonna put it in. We're gonna beat this until it is pale and thick, and that will take about 10 or 15 minutes or so. Our our egg mixture is very pale and thick, and what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take our cocoa and flour and mixture, and we're gonna start to add this a little bit at a time on low. Half a cup, and we're gonna blend that very briefly, and then we're gonna switch this to high for a second. Okay, then we're gonna turn this down just a little bit. We're gonna add the rest of this. And we're gonna add our vanilla. It's right there. Then we're gonna put this on high for a minute. Then we're gonna turn it off. And we're gonna take our whisk off and just mix this gently with our whisk attachment. You don't want to overwork this because you'll definitely deflate your eggs, and that will lead to a very dense cake. So here's my prepared sheet pan, and this, we're gonna just spread this out on our pan. It's gonna spread this out in our pan. We're gonna spread this out as evenly as we can. Even is important because you want to make sure that your batter cooks evenly, because if it doesn't, you're going to have a problem when you go to roll it. Okay, so here we go. So here's our cake. Now, I hope it's even. We're going to tap this on the counter because we want to get rid of bubbles. So now we're going to pop this in the oven. This does not need long at all. This needs 8 minutes tops. You want to watch this very, very carefully, because if it'll burn like that. I mean, literally, just seconds. You really want to set your timer. You don't want to try to eyeball something like this because it will burn literally like that. Okay, so we're just about ready now to pull our cake. I don't know whether or not it's done yet. I'm gonna take a look at it to see. But I have a huge kitchen towel here, and dust this with a little bit of powdered sugar because, like I said, this cake really loves to stick. And when it comes out, we're going to dust cake also with powdered sugar, and we're going to roll our cake up in this towel to cool. This is what it looks like when it comes out. I need to dust this with some powdered sugar before I put it onto the towel so that it doesn't stick. And we're going to place this towel over the top of this. We're going to turn this. If this sticks, it's not the end of the world. You can see it's stuck a little bit. A little bit more powdered sugar, because the object of the game, as I've said before, is to keep this from not sticking to your towel. Okay. Now we're going to roll this. This is where it gets tricky. Okay, so you're going to watch what I'm doing here. I'm going to pull this. Okay, so now we're gonna let that cool. The next step is to make some yummy ganache. While our roll is cooling, cream. cream next to bacon and chocolate should be a food group. We're gonna take a cup of heavy whipping cream. The higher the butter fat, the better. Okay, it's important. You know, ganache is a fancy word for cream and melted chocolate. And so basically what we're gonna do is we're going to take this heavy cream and we're gonna nuke it until it's hot. I mean, don't nuke it until it's boiling over. You wanna watch it, you wanna be really careful. It's probably, I would say, guess somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1.5 minutes or so until it's gotta be hot. I mean, it's gotta be boiling, it's gotta be bubbling, but you don't want it like bubbling over or you're gonna have a mess. So the idea is that you're going to pour this over your chocolate chips, and it's 8 ounces of good quality chocolate. And that's going to form the basis for your bark on your Yule log. Okay. Still in Ireland today, Yule now, and in times past, the idea is to keep the fires burning and the lights on the longest day of the year. So during the Yule celebration, people will bring the Yule log in, and they'll party, and they'll drink, and they tell ghost stories, and they would obviously burn the Yule log. The Yule log was traditionally lit with an ember from last year's Yule log. People would decorate, once they brought their Yule log in, they would decorate their Yule log with holly, which was a very important plant in Irish mythology. It was neither bush nor tree, and so the Irish really felt that it was magical. The idea was that this Yule log, this massive log, which is why it was so big, was that it would not die. It was meant to last through the whole celebration. It was not meant to burn out. It was considered to be very bad luck if your Yule log went out before the celebration was over. So I've got my chocolate chips, I've got my hot cream, and we're gonna make some magic. The idea here is you're gonna take this heavy cream, this hot heavy cream, and you're gonna pour it over the chocolate. I'm gonna let this sit for a minute. I'm just touching my cake here to see how well it's cooling, because the one thing you don't want to do is you definitely don't want to try to frost that too soon, because your frosting, your buttercream will melt, and then that will be bad. It's not quite a minute, but we're going to gently whisk this ganache, and anything that you have left after you've created your Yule log, you can turn into truffles. And basically all truffles is this ganache rolled into balls, and dust it with cocoa powder. Now you start to see it. There's the magic happening. Oops. I probably should have chosen a larger bowl. There it is. See, there's the magic. It's like, I swear to God, it's like something that you would see Houdini do. You know, you put some stuff together, and all of a sudden there it is. You've got this wonderful chocolate sauce. See this? This is wonderful. So we're finally at the point right now where we are ready to unroll our cake. And so we're gonna unroll this, and we're gonna put it onto a baking sheet that I put a little bit of parchment on. But you'll see, this is why you want to make sure that you dust it very well. See, but that's okay, because as I said before, this hides a multitude of sins. You know, anything can be fixed with buttercream icing. So basically, I did forget about one crucial step, and that was some plastic wrap. All right, so what we're gonna do right now is we are going to take our buttercream, and we're gonna reserve a little bit of buttercream because we're gonna need a little bit of that for the other part of our log. So we want to save a little bit, and I'm going to save about that much. And you're going to spread this as evenly as possible. So here we go. So now we've saved our this is going to be glue for the Y part of our Yule log after this sets for some time. I'm gonna roll this from this end because this is the side that cracked over here. So rather than try to roll it from that end, I'm gonna roll it from this end. Oh no. Just, you want to be gentle because as you can see, I just had a crack. Oh no, please. Be very gentle when you do this, very gentle. You can use the towel to help you. If this happens, it's not the end of the world. It's not a big problem. Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up in plastic so that it can set. We're gonna put it over here on our sheet. Okay, so now we have to let this set and we have to let this chill, and then we're gonna decorate it. This is actually supposed to chill about 2 hours, but I truly don't want to wait 2 hours. So I'm gonna roll the dice and see how this goes. So we have our cooled Yule log here, and what we're going to do is we are going to take a knife and we are going to cut on a diagonal. I guess that's about as good a place as any to cut. A piece like that. I am also going to tighten this up a little bit over here because I'm not really happy with what that looks like. So I'm just going to cut that over there just to even that out a little bit. Now we're going to start to build our log. And we want to make it look like a log. So remember, it doesn't have to be perfect because this is supposed to be like nature. So it doesn't have to be perfect because nature isn't perfect. And you're going to take your buttercream and you are going to use it to fill in the space. We're going to start spooning this ganache over the top of this, which is why it's sitting on the parchment, because you're going to make a mess. And then we're going to spread our ganache. Now, you don't really want to cover the cut ends. You don't. And you don't want to be afraid to make this thick because you're going to be dragging a fork through it later after it congeals. We're going to let this set, and when it sets, we're going to start to create the illusion of bark while we're waiting for our thing to cool. So cranberries. These are extremely easy to do, and they look impressive, and people, when they see them, think you're a genius. What you have to do is you just wet your hand a little bit, just a tiniest bit of water, and you roll these guys in your hands, and then you just dump them in the sugar. Instant candied cranberries. You can also do the same thing with herbs. You can, if you wanted to, dust your rosemary a little bit to make it look like it's, been sitting in, it's been a little frosted. So I've got some mint here. So you can do that with mint as well. And when it dries up, it looks like the frost has kissed the mint, and it's very pretty. So now we're going to create the bark. So you're going to take a fork. You can also do this with a knife. And you're just going to create. You're just going to create some lines. You can even do a little knot here. So now you can see this really has now started to look like bark. See? Take some more cranberries. Stick a little rosemary there. We're going to take a little sugar and we're going to dust this, like this. Look at that. See how pretty? Look at that. I'm gonna put some mint here too. Let's take some more leaves and decorate this up a little bit more. Let's take some of these candied cranberries. And there it is. There it is, a Christmas Yule log. It was an honor and a pleasure for me to be able to spend this afternoon teaching you how to do this new family tradition that I have discovered in my genealogy research. And so I will say to you, Happy Christmas, or as they say in Ireland, Yule Log, Hannah Wich.